Speaking to Subiaco Mayor Penny Taylor, who last night oversaw a meeting where the Subiaco Council have introduced new initiatives in response to the coronavirus. Penny, good afternoon. Tell us what you've done in Subiaco.
Good afternoon, Tom. Well, as you mentioned, last night we had our first special council meeting directly to address the coronavirus. It was done online. It was the first time we've had an entirely digital online meeting. None of us were there in person, just myself and a couple of staff, and every other councillor phoned in or logged in, I should say, and we had a meeting. A couple of things that have been of interest today that people have been asking me about is around parking. We now have made it that it is free parking across the city of Subiaco. In any City of Subiaco car park, you can park for free. And in line with that, we have also suspended infringing people parking in terms of overstaying. Of course, you can't do anything silly like park in an ACROD bay or park in a loading zone or a no stopping zone. But in terms of parking tickets, they're not something that is a priority for our rangers right now. And those two things really came out of wanting to support our hospital workers. Tom, you probably know the City of Subiaco has King Edward Memorial Hospital within its boundaries, and we're very close to Perth Children's Hospital and Sir Charlie Gardner's Hospital. So we do have a lot of hospital workers parking in the City of Subiaco. Now, hospital workers are on the front line in supporting our community during this COVID crisis. We do not want them to have to come out and move their car, have to worry about a parking ticket. We want all of that worry lifted off them. And in doing so, we just thought it was simplest, make it free. Make it free parking, suspend parking tickets, and then we know that our health workers can concentrate on the really important job that they're doing.
It's a really good start. With the other initiatives, obviously there was a fairly sizable list. Run us through what else the council is doing for residents and business in the area.
Sure. Well, for our community, we've immediately suspended any penalties on rates. We've made fees and charges zero. And in terms of rates, we've already instructed the administration that we'd like to look at as a minimum of 0% rates increase. And in fact, when that budget is prepared, that there is the opportunity to look for actually reducing rates. Thankfully, the City of Subiaco does have significant cash reserves. These have been, built up over time by our previous generations for a rainy day. We know that this crisis is affecting our community. It is hurting people right now across the City of Subiaco, and we as a council are looking to see what we can do to do our best to make sure we have support for our community. I mean, it's an unprecedented situation. We've got pubs and bars shut. I mean, the Subi Hotel is closed. Iconic elements of our community are shut. This is an unprecedented situation. And we know that as a council. We are, as I said, we looked at this as our first phase. And Tom, there's a long list, but it's things, I mean, the rates and the parking are the big items in terms of dollars, because they're around what would normally come in as income. But it's really looking at removing fees and charges so that all of those sort of incremental items that residents and businesses pay for really have a lot of downward pressure so that people don't have to worry about it. This is things to do with council aren't people's highest priority at the moment. Our highest priority is keeping our community well and giving our community a sense of certainty in what is a really uncertain time.
No, that's all very, very good stuff. One of the things I've heard, I suppose, around the place is that the councils generally have been relatively slow in coming out with a response. We saw one from Karratha the other day. Melville have announced one. You've announced one. a couple of other councils are starting to trickle out with responses. What's been the delay there? Is it because of the structure of the council?
Yes, apologies if you can hear the flock of birds flying past in the background. Yeah, it has. Council has been a little disappointed to just get to this now. I mean, we're pleased that we've made these decisions and we can make these announcements today. There was some work that needed to be done at an administration level to make sure we could do these things. There has been a will on council for some time that we do want these actions done. We'd like administration to do it. And now, after having this council meeting last night, we've demonstrated that we will make the decisions that need to be made. I think there would be some on council who feel that we didn't go far enough, and that's why we're calling it this first phase of actions. There will be more actions required.
Yeah,
The City of Subiaco has the capacity. Yeah.
The Business Advisory Council, explain that, because obviously business has had a pretty tough time in Subiaco for the last few years anyway, and you know what's going to be done and who's in charge of driving that.
Right, it's all good questions, Tom. What the council was really quite clear about wanting to make sure we didn't just do something tokenish for business. We have a committee, the Economic Business Sustainability and Advisory Committee, that's made up of community representatives, including business owners, landowners, and other members of the community with an interest in the local economy. What we wanted to make sure, the federal government has put out a substantial package that's been welcomed by many in the business community, as has the state government, around looking after the residential, like households. And so we wanted to make sure that when we're looking at supporting business in the city of Subiaco, local government doesn't do business. It tends to have a different business model. We wanted to make sure that we tailored our response to be specific and helpful. And that's why an alternative motion was accepted, thankfully, last night. That Economic Business Committee has already been called up. I've contacted every member today. I've had some excellent feedback. The committee is ready and willing to work urgently. We know that we can't muck around, but businesses are going into hibernation. So we need to make sure we look at what the federal government is doing. We are willing to spend what we can to make a real difference. I'm having community members every day asking me about how we're supporting businesses across the community. We have, as you know, a place like Subiaco is kind of defined by its local business. The heartbreak that has happened in the past 2 weeks around business closures, layoffs, total uncertainty. We've got businesses that don't even know if their business model is economically viable anymore. These are unprecedented times. The City of Subiaco has the capacity, and we want to funnel that appropriately into supporting our local economy.
From your perspective, as a mayor of one of the more prominent councils in Perth, we've seen probably a real change in position from the Prime Minister, from the Premier. There's an opportunity, I suppose, as much as a requirement for leaders in the community to step up and take a role. How have you found that, having to sort of take a leadership role at a different level through this time?
It's been interesting. I think that now more than ever, the more certainty that leaders can bring to their community. As you know, Tom, I was very, very keen to have a central location for information to be shared. I have a lot of people contacting me in terms of personal interactions. Many more people have contacted me around the everyday happenings in the city, asking for me to either share information or asking for information. People in times of uncertainty want clear messages and a clear direction, and I think that's really important. I'd like us to do that better in the city of Subiaco. You're interviewing me here. I am really keen to get out to our community what we are doing and share the things that are happening that both demonstrate an understanding of council in the real challenging things that we're facing, but also a demonstration of council that the community kindness that comes through in difficult times like these are also really important to share. And I'm seeing both sides of that. The heartbreak of watching long-term business owners having to close their doors due to federal government directives to keep the community safe. No business owner foresees that, and to let your staff go is heartbreaking. And I'm as mayor, offering my condolences to businesses that have faced that. I've come from a business background. I've been in small business. I know what that would be like, and I'm not trying to say at all that I can, put my feet in the shoes of the people who are doing that, but it hurts, and I can see our community hurting through this time, and I can see the uncertainty and the fear. What I would like is for council to bring certainty where it can and to bring economic support where it can. We are thankfully a wealthy council with significant reserves. We need to manage them wisely, but we also need to then know when to spend them if it's required. And this is an unprecedented crisis for our community.
We've seen a new level of cooperation between the states and the federal government, between the federal government and the opposition. It's all changed. Subiaco Council obviously is fairly, shall we say, well known for its conflict within. It's been a pretty rough ride for you as mayor for the last couple of years, and there's been divides. How have you found it with the other councillors? Are they all pulling together and sort of going, this is bigger than, politics, I guess?
The council made some good decisions last night, and I would hope that council continues to work to support our community. I know there are differing views on council, even right now with councillors do communicate a lot and share their different views. There are some different views around whether austerity measures are required or whether spending on our community is required. I'm hoping that the overriding decision-making factor is what does our community need right now? What are the things that we can do to help our community right now? And that will involve having to spend money that we never dreamt that we would be spending. No one comes into government. Ask the federal government. They did not come in thinking that they would need to blow their surplus because I know that they were liking having that. But if it calls for it, then the good of the nation is what comes first. And I think the good of the community of the city of Subiaco is what should always come first. And that will involve us having to use our what we have in our capacity to do so. We do have the capacity. We are very fortunate local government, and we should be using it for our community.
From a personal point of view, you get out and about a fair bit, you meet a lot of people. How are you finding the situation at the moment, the whole physical isolation and the places that are closed and all the rest of it? How are you dealing with that?
It does have a very different feel to it. I mean, you can see I'm sitting outside, you can see the park and hear the birds. You can't take away from Subiaco some of the charm that we have. It is difficult though seeing our main street closed. And personally, because you did ask me personally, just seeing, particularly in those who have been already affected economically, just seeing the fear and uncertainty in people's faces is something that I wish, as mayor, I could bring more comfort to immediately. We are in this together. I have seen some beautiful acts of kindness. I see people being deliberately kind to each other. No one's touching each other or giving each other hugs, but everyone is deliberately being kind and patient with each other, which of course is something that we should be doing every day. But we really are in this together, and it's been heartbreaking yet heartening, much of what I've seen in the last 2 weeks.
Well, no doubt we're in for a bumpy few months, I would think, going ahead and see what happens. But really appreciate your time. Keep up the good work, and hopefully Subiaco can keep on doing what Subiaco needs to do to help lift spirits and both the business and the resident in the community there. And keep up the good work.
Thanks, Tom. If I do have, when I do have news of the other initiatives that we'll be bringing forward, I'd love to talk to you again.
That's great. Subiaco Mayor Penny Taylor joining us here on Real Local Radio.